Men, here's the truth. A woman's ego isn't as untouchable as most men think. When you understand female psychology and how emotional dynamics work, you realize that creating influence over her attention, desire, and respect doesn't require manipulation or cruelty. It's about presence, boundaries, and self-respect. Women notice when a man is confident, emotionally independent, and selective with his attention, and that alone challenges their sense of control and forces them to reevaluate their priorities. Many men unintentionally inflate a woman's ego by giving constant validation, over-complimenting, or always being available. This makes them predictable, less attractive, and easy to take for granted. The key to destroying her inflated sense of superiority, or more accurately, recalibrating her perspective, is to become the kind of man she can't predict, can't control, and genuinely respects. This isn't about breaking her down. It's about positioning yourself as a high-value man who cannot be easily influenced. Women respond to men who lead interactions, set boundaries, and remain emotionally composed because it triggers curiosity, reflection, and sometimes even humility. In this guide, we'll break down 7 powerful ways to subtly challenge her ego and increase your influence in modern dating. Each section focuses on actionable behaviors, psychological principles, and the subtle signals that make a woman notice you differently, prioritize you more, and respect you on a deeper level. When applied consistently, these strategies shift her mindset naturally, without drama, conflict, or humiliation. By mastering these techniques, you create a dynamic where she has to rethink her assumptions about you, your value, and her approach to the connection. You won't chase. You won't over-explain. You'll simply show presence, confidence, and emotional authority, the elements that trigger reflection and attraction. Women notice this instinctively, and it changes how they interact, think, and feel about you. 1. Withdraw. Validation. Men, the first way to subtly challenge a woman's ego is by withdrawing validation. Most women are used to constant affirmation from men, compliments, attention, and approval. When you step back and stop giving validation automatically, it creates a subtle psychological shift. She begins to notice your absence, evaluate her own behavior, and reflect on what she may be losing. This isn't about being cold or rude. It's about demonstrating that your attention is valuable and must be earned. Withdrawing validation works because it introduces scarcity and unpredictability. Women are wired to respond to signals of high value. When she receives validation constantly, it lowers your perceived worth because it suggests your attention is easy to get. By being selective, composed, and deliberate with praise, compliments, or emotional support, you position yourself as a man who cannot be taken for granted. She notices the difference immediately and starts reflecting on her behavior and your value. Behaviorally, this can be simple. Don't over-compliment her appearance, achievements, or social posts. Limit responses to her messages so they feel intentional rather than automatic. When she seeks reassurance or approval, respond calmly and with confidence, rather than over-explaining or validating excessively. The goal is to make her experience the subtle tension of wanting your approval while recognizing that it's not guaranteed. Psychologically, withdrawing validation triggers reflection and recalibration. Women begin to notice the qualities in you they may have overlooked and consider your attention more carefully. It also challenges her sense of control, because she is used to eliciting reactions effortlessly. Now she has to invest more thought and effort, which increases emotional engagement. This stage builds attraction, curiosity, and subtle respect because she is subconsciously aware that your energy and attention are earned, not given freely. Many men fail because they misinterpret withdrawal of validation as hostility or disinterest. It's not about being cold. It's about maintaining composure, independence, and high-value presence. Your energy should remain calm, confident, and consistent, which reinforces your desirability and authority in the interaction. The key takeaway: when you withdraw validation strategically, you shift the dynamic in your favor. You don't destroy her ego through insults or confrontation. You simply create a space where she has to reconsider her approach, reflect on your value, and invest more emotionally. This recalibration subtly challenges her sense of superiority and makes your presence more magnetic. In short, withholding constant validation is one of the most effective ways to challenge her ego and increase attraction. It forces reflection, enhances your perceived value, and establishes you as a man who operates on his own terms. Women notice this instinctively and begin to prioritize your attention and presence naturally. 2. Maintain emotional distance. Men, the second way to challenge a woman's ego effectively is to maintain emotional distance. This doesn't mean being cold or uncaring. It means creating a subtle barrier that communicates independence, self-control, and high value. Women are instinctively drawn to men who are emotionally stable, composed, and not easily swayed by their moods or attempts at influence. Emotional distance forces her to pay attention, reflect on her own behavior, and subtly recalibrate how she values you. Maintaining distance begins with controlling your reactions. Don't overreact to her moods, teasing, or attempts to provoke attention. Respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. A calm, steady presence communicates that your emotional state isn't dictated by her actions, which increases her respect and attraction. Women are naturally drawn to attention when they sense a man who is not easily influenced emotionally. Emotional distance isn't about being detached or uninterested, it's about being grounded in yourself. When a woman senses that her attempts to provoke a reaction or elicit constant attention don't control your emotions, she subconsciously begins to evaluate your value and status. This creates a shift where she has to earn your engagement rather than take it for granted, which challenges her ego in a way that naturally increases attraction. Behaviorally, maintaining emotional distance involves a combination of timing, tone, and presence. Limit impulsive responses to her texts or calls, and don't feel pressured to provide immediate approval or attention. In conversations, respond thoughtfully without over-explaining yourself or trying to justify your actions. Keep your energy calm, confident, and composed, even when she attempts to push boundaries. This approach signals that you are a high-value man whose emotional stability is not dependent on her actions, which subtly challenges her assumptions about her control over the dynamic. Physical presence also matters in maintaining emotional distance. During interactions, stay composed and confident, but avoid leaning in too quickly or showing excessive eagerness. Subtle body language cues like measured gestures, relaxed posture, and steady eye contact communicate that you are in control of your energy. She will notice this, even subconsciously, and it triggers reflection and recalibration on her part. Psychologically, emotional distance works because it creates a contrast between what she is used to and the new dynamic you establish. Most women are accustomed to men who give immediate attention and validation. By remaining emotionally independent, you force her brain to notice the difference. She starts thinking about your presence, your value, and why your energy feels different. This introspection naturally challenges her ego because she is forced to reassess her expectations and behavior, which deepens emotional engagement and increases attraction. Many men make the mistake of thinking emotional distance means being unresponsive or cold. That's not the case. Emotional distance is about maintaining composure and self-respect while still being present in a controlled, intentional way. It's about showing that your attention, energy, and emotional investment are selective, not automatic. This subtle challenge triggers reflection, curiosity, and desire, all powerful drivers of attraction. In short, maintaining emotional distance is one of the most effective ways to challenge a woman's ego without conflict or manipulation. It communicates high value, independence, and composure, creating a dynamic where she has to work slightly to earn your attention. This not only increases her attraction, but also positions you as a man she respects, prioritizes, and cannot easily influence. Emotional distance is a cornerstone of high-value behavior in modern dating, and a subtle yet powerful tool in influencing her perception of you. 3. Challenge her opinions. Men, the third way to subtly affect a woman's ego is by challenging her opinions. This isn't about arguing for the sake of conflict or trying to be confrontational. It's about expressing your perspective confidently, showing independent thought, and demonstrating that you are not easily swayed. Women are naturally attracted to men who think for themselves, have strong principles, and can hold their ground. When you challenge her ideas respectfully and with confidence, you create intrigue, tension, and subtle respect. Challenging her opinions works because it signals that your value isn't dependent on her approval. Most women are used to men who nod along or agree automatically, which can inflate her sense of control and reduce attraction. By expressing a different viewpoint, you show that you are thoughtful, independent, and assertive, qualities that women instinctively respect. This doesn't mean dismissing her perspective or being dismissive. It means confidently presenting your own ideas and reasoning, which encourages her to consider you as a man of substance rather than just someone agreeable. Behaviorally, this can be done in casual conversations. For example, if she expresses an opinion about something trivial or important, acknowledge it, then add your own perspective in a calm, confident tone. You might say, "I see what you mean, but I think," or "That's interesting. I usually see it differently." The key is to maintain respect and composure, not to provoke or dominate. Your delivery should communicate that you are self-assured, not defensive, and that your thoughts carry weight. Psychologically, challenging her opinions triggers curiosity and reflection. When a woman encounters a man who doesn't simply echo her beliefs, her mind evaluates the contrast. She starts to think, why does he see it differently? How does he think? This stimulates mental engagement and subtly challenges her ego because she must reconcile her assumptions with your independent stance. She may even feel compelled to justify her ideas or reconsider her position, which creates a deeper emotional and intellectual connection. Many men fail because they either avoid disagreement entirely or argue aggressively. Avoiding disagreement makes you seem pliable and easy to manipulate, while aggressive arguing comes across as insecure or combative. High-value men challenge opinions with calmness, clarity, and assertiveness. The goal is not to win, but to signal independence and stimulate engagement. This creates respect, attraction, and intrigue. In short, challenging a woman's opinions strategically is a powerful way to recalibrate her ego and increase your influence. By confidently expressing your perspective, maintaining composure, and encouraging reflection, you position yourself as a high-value man who cannot be easily influenced or controlled. This makes her see you differently, prioritize your presence, and invest more mentally and emotionally in the connection. Thoughtful challenge is a subtle yet potent tool for influence in modern dating. 4. Set clear boundaries. Men, the fourth way to challenge a woman's ego effectively is by setting clear boundaries. Women are naturally drawn to men who know their worth, understand their limits, and don't allow others to cross them. When you define what is acceptable in your interactions and enforce it consistently, you signal strength, self-respect, and high value. This isn't about being controlling, it's about showing that your time, energy, and attention are precious, and she must earn them. Boundaries create respect and subtly challenge her sense of entitlement or assumption that she can dictate the dynamic. Setting boundaries begins with clarity. Know what behaviors you will tolerate and which you will not, and communicate these limits calmly and confidently. For example, if she consistently texts you at inappropriate times or expects immediate responses, establish your availability. You might say, "I usually focus on work during the day, so I'll reply in the evening." Simple, firm statements like this communicate that your life operates on your terms. Women notice when a man is self-governing, and it creates subconscious respect and intrigue. Physical and emotional boundaries matter too. If a woman tries to test your patience, invade your personal space, or manipulate your attention, respond consistently without anger or drama. Maintain composure and calmly redirect or remove yourself from the situation if necessary. This demonstrates that you are not easily influenced by her behavior, which challenges her ego and triggers reflection. She begins to notice that she cannot control you, making you more attractive in the process. Psychologically, boundaries work because they create a sense of scarcity and exclusivity. When she realizes that your attention and presence are conditional, she values them more. It forces her to reflect on her actions and adjust her approach if she wants to maintain connection with you. This recalibration of effort and attention strengthens attraction, respect, and emotional engagement. Women are naturally drawn to men who are selective, decisive, and consistent, qualities that boundaries communicate effortlessly. Many men make the mistake of avoiding boundaries because they fear confrontation or rejection. Others enforce them inconsistently, which diminishes credibility. High-value men remain firm but composed, making clear what they accept and what they do not, without hostility. This approach maintains tension and intrigue while establishing authority in the interaction. She begins to respect your independence and sees you as someone who operates on his own terms rather than being reactive to her ego or whims. In short, setting clear boundaries is one of the most effective ways to challenge a woman's ego and establish influence in a connection. Boundaries communicate high value, confidence, and self-respect, while subtly forcing her to evaluate her behavior, adjust her approach, and prioritize your presence. When combined with other strategies like withdrawing validation, maintaining emotional distance, and challenging opinions, boundaries create a dynamic where she respects, desires, and mentally invests in you naturally. 5. Limit your availability. Men, the fifth way to challenge a woman's ego is by limiting your availability. This is a powerful psychological strategy that naturally recalibrates her perception of your value. Women are drawn to men who have lives, priorities, and standards that aren't centered entirely around them. When you make yourself slightly less accessible, it creates scarcity and tension, which forces her to reflect on your worth and pay more attention to the moments she does have with you. Limiting availability isn't about ignoring her completely or playing games. It's about being deliberate with your time and attention. For instance, don't drop everything immediately when she texts or calls. Respond selectively, with intention, and make your interactions meaningful. By doing this, you demonstrate that your energy is valuable and must be earned. This subtly challenges her ego because it interrupts any expectation that she can automatically command your attention. Behaviorally, limiting availability can take many forms. Focus on your goals, hobbies, friendships, and responsibilities. When you engage fully in your life, she sees a man with direction and purpose. This isn't arrogance, it's self-respect. During interactions, keep conversations engaging but concise and avoid overextending emotionally. Don't fill every silence with words or validation. Let her feel the contrast of your presence and absence. It naturally increases intrigue and desire. Psychologically, this works because women are wired to respond to scarcity and effort. When attention is not guaranteed, she begins to evaluate her own behavior. Why does he engage selectively? What makes him different from other men? Limiting your availability forces her to think about you, creating mental space for attraction to grow. Scarcity increases perceived value, which in turn challenges her ego by showing her that your presence is not automatically granted. She begins to appreciate your attention more and prioritizes her engagement with you over others. Many men fail here because they misunderstand limiting availability as being aloof or disinterested. The key is balance. Maintain your life, focus on your priorities, and engage meaningfully when you choose to. This demonstrates that your energy is intentional and not freely given, which positions you as a high-value man. Women respond to this subtle power dynamic with increased respect, interest, and investment. In short, limiting your availability is one of the most effective ways to challenge a woman's ego without confrontation. It creates scarcity, reinforces your value, and forces her to reevaluate her behavior and priorities. When combined with withdrawing validation, maintaining emotional distance, challenging opinions, and setting boundaries, it builds a dynamic where she must consciously engage with you, increasing both attraction and influence. Scarcity, done correctly, is magnetic. It makes her seek you, think about you, and value you far more than constant access ever could. 6. Keep her guessing men. The sixth way to challenge a woman's ego is to keep her guessing. Predictability kills intrigue, and women are naturally drawn to men who are confident, independent, and slightly unpredictable in the right ways. When you don't reveal everything about your thoughts, plans, or feelings at once, you create a sense of mystery that she instinctively wants to explore. Keeping her guessing challenges her ego because it interrupts her expectation of control, forcing her to pay attention and reflect on your value. Keeping her guessing isn't about playing manipulative games. It's about maintaining your own life, priorities, and emotional composure while leaving room for curiosity. For example, when she asks about your day or your plans, you can give interesting but selective details, showing engagement without oversharing. Mention highlights or achievements without giving the full story immediately. This encourages her to follow up, ask questions, and engage mentally, which increases her emotional investment and makes your presence more memorable. Behaviorally, this can be done in small, subtle ways. Use social cues to convey that your life is full and rewarding. Don't always be available for every text, call, or invitation. Share experiences or stories with a sense of intrigue, rather than over-explaining every detail. Allow your energy and presence to fluctuate slightly. Be warm, attentive, and engaging, but maintain the natural ebb and flow that signals independence. This balance creates emotional tension, curiosity, and attraction. Psychologically, keeping her guessing triggers what is known as the uncertainty effect. When someone cannot predict your behavior fully, they are more likely to think about you, evaluate your value, and invest emotionally. Women notice when a man is not fully accessible mentally or emotionally, and it subconsciously challenges her ego because she realizes she cannot fully control or anticipate your attention. This stimulates her mind and increases desire because she wants to understand you more, connect more deeply, and earn your engagement. Many men make the mistake of over-disclosure, trying to impress or gain approval. This removes mystery and predictability creeps in, which decreases attraction. Others swing too far in the opposite direction, appearing distant or uninterested, which can confuse or repel. The key is balance. Reveal enough to engage and intrigue, but always leave subtle gaps that make her want to learn more about you. This positions you as a man of depth, independence, and high value. In short, keeping her guessing is a strategic and subtle way to challenge a woman's ego and increase your influence. Mystery creates tension, curiosity, and emotional investment without drama. When combined with withdrawing validation, maintaining emotional distance, challenging opinions, setting boundaries, and limiting availability, It positions you as a man she can't take for granted and must engage with on your terms. Women naturally respond to this dynamic by prioritizing your presence, thinking about you, and increasing attraction over time. 7. Be unshakably confident men. The seventh and final way to challenge a woman's ego is by being unshakably confident. Confidence is magnetic because it communicates that you are comfortable in your own skin, independent of her approval, and secure in your own value. Women are instinctively drawn to men who project self-assurance, not arrogance, because it challenges their assumptions and elevates your presence in their mind. When you remain confident in every interaction, you create a dynamic where she must step up, reflect on her behavior, and prioritize your attention. Unshakable confidence starts with mindset. You must internalize that your worth is not dictated by her reactions or opinions. Your energy, decisions, and behavior flow from your self-respect and independence. When you operate from this place, you naturally challenge her ego because she realizes that she cannot easily manipulate, sway, or control your emotions. Confidence signals stability, emotional strength, and high value, qualities women are wired to seek and respect. Behaviorally, this shows in how you carry yourself in conversation, social settings, and private moments. Speak clearly and assertively without over-explaining. Maintain calm body language, relaxed shoulders, steady posture, and deliberate gestures. Make decisions without hesitation and engage in activities that reinforce your independence. Avoid overreacting to her moods, teasing, or attempts to provoke attention. By remaining composed and confident, you communicate that your presence and attention are selective, which makes her naturally more invested. Psychologically, unshakable confidence triggers both respect and attraction. Women subconsciously interpret confidence as a sign of competence, stability, and reliability. When she senses that you are unaffected by her ego, she becomes intrigued and curious. She begins to reflect on her own behavior, wondering how she can connect with someone so grounded and self-assured. This creates a subtle tension and pull that strengthens attachment and increases desire over time. Many men fail because they confuse confidence with arrogance, aggression, or overcompensation. True confidence is calm, deliberate, and consistent. It's about owning your presence without needing validation. It's not about trying to win her over at every turn. It's about living fully, prioritizing your own life, and maintaining self-respect. Women respond instinctively to this energy, and it naturally elevates your perceived value while recalibrating her ego. In short, being unshakably confident is the culmination of all the other strategies: withdrawing validation, maintaining emotional distance, challenging opinions, setting boundaries, limiting availability, and keeping her guessing. Confidence amplifies their effects and ensures that your interactions leave a lasting impression. A confident man doesn't chase, doesn't plead, and doesn't over-explain. He operates on his own terms, and women can't help but notice, respect, and desire him. Men, mastering the subtle art of challenging a woman's ego isn't about being cruel, manipulative, or domineering. It's about presence, independence, and high-value behavior. By withdrawing validation, maintaining emotional distance, challenging opinions, setting boundaries, limiting availability, keeping her guessing, and being unshakably confident, you create a dynamic where she must respect, prioritize, and invest in you naturally. These strategies work because they communicate self-respect and emotional control, qualities that women instinctively find attractive. When applied consistently, these behaviors recalibrate her perception of you. She begins to notice your value, reflect on her behavior, and engage with you more intentionally. You are no longer a man she can predict or control, which triggers intrigue, curiosity, and desire. Women respond to men who operate on their own terms, who manage their energy and attention deliberately, and who maintain confidence regardless of external validation. This subtle shift challenges her ego in a way that strengthens attraction and emotional engagement without drama, conflict, or humiliation. The key takeaway: high-value men influence through presence, boundaries, and composure, not through manipulation or games. Women naturally notice when a man is emotionally independent, confident, and selective with his attention. By strategically applying these 7 principles, you position yourself as a man who is rare, magnetic, and respected, someone she wants to be around, think about, and invest her energy in. Remember, this isn't about breaking her down. It's about elevating yourself and allowing your high-value energy to create reflection and respect. When you consistently operate from this mindset, her ego shifts organically. She begins to prioritize you, value your attention, and respond to your presence in ways that deepen attraction and connection. In short, subtle influence through confidence, boundaries, and strategic behavior is far more powerful than overt tactics. It positions you as a man of value, independence, and self-respect, creating a dynamic where women naturally notice, desire, and engage with you. Master these principles, and you will change the way she sees you, thinks about you, and ultimately chooses to invest in you.